This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All righty, here we are. Oh my gosh, the end of August already. And it's been a fabulous month as we process through talking to a variety of awesome authors who have really been out there beating the path, bringing people to them, building huge fan base. And I thought it would just be totally perfect to bring along someone who is really a newbie to this part of the process. Not a newbie in writing a book. Oh no, we've done that one. And not a newbie in starting to get all the infrastructure together. Oh, the website's there. The social media started being started up. But a newbie really to launching out to getting the marketing going. So with me is Lori Golden. Her book is My House of Lies. And we're going to be talking about the contents of the book, but really we're getting into Lori's journey of why she wrote the book, how she got started, what were some of the hiccups that we went through in the process, and everything else that we've got going here. And that on AuthorU, your guide to book publishing, we're all about educating, getting things put together for you so you know what to expect when you're expecting, and what can you do when you get some of the hiccups. So one of the things I'll be asking Lori, what would she be doing differently if she had the magic wand? And there isn't a time that we wouldn't be doing something with a twist a little bit differently. But please welcome Lori Golden, the author of My House of Lies, and just beginning the long journey of becoming a best-selling author. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Judith.
All right, so let's give a little bit of your background. Where did you come from?
Okay, like where did I grow up?
No, I don't want to hear that. About you're a mental health professional.
Oh, my background. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have a private practice, and I specialize in recovery from addictions of all sorts and from post-trauma stress disorder, which is a diagnosis for people who have lived through trauma. And I work with individuals, couples, I do groups, I speak to people informally in groups. So I've done a lot in my area of expertise, and going out, writing a book and going out to the larger world out there is new.
It is new. And for everyone, let me just tell you a little bit about Lori's book. It's a memoir, and it's about her addiction, recovery, and overcoming childhood incest after 37 years of amnesia. And then really what's important about her book, it reveals a truly remarkable journey to seeking the truth, reclaiming parts of herself that were just lost to full disassociation and the addiction that was result of her years of incest, and turning her on her own drama and abuse into a passion to help others face the challenges. So what I love about Lori is she inspires and motivates others to seek their own truth and heal. And she does that through her individual consulting, the speaking presentations she does across the nation. And it's so remarkable to make this happen for you. And let me do also a disclosure. I was Lori's book shepherd. This is the fourth book I have worked on this topic. And what has now become unremarkable, but it's remarkable, is that every one of the women that I have worked with and the men and women I have met along the way who have encountered sexual abuse is that their stories are so similar. So similar. Yeah. It's almost like they had a script book to go by, but yet they didn't. Yeah. So anyway, that's, I just want to disclaim that for everyone in the process. So, Lori, let's talk about writing the book. And things that, when did you first decide to get that out?
When I really first thought about writing a book, I was 27. I was in the hospital because I tried to hurt myself, and I was very depressed. And I had already been a mental health professional, and I thought, this is really ridiculous. Here I am sitting in a mental hospital, a psych ward, and I knew I needed to figure this out. I knew something wasn't right about this setting for me. I understood that I wasn't crazy, and because back then, when you were hospitalized, you think you're crazy. And I thought, something about me doesn't make sense. I didn't know what it was. So I sat there, the door closed, and I was in a lounge area, and I thought, God, I really have to tell my story. This is like, as a psychotherapist, I have to figure this out. And really what I was saying at that age was, and all throughout my years, up until I got into recovery, I knew I had to figure something out about myself, and that would help other people, including me. And then I got into recovery in 1987, and I started to remember my sexual abuse after 37 years of amnesia. And once again, I thought, I'm a psychotherapist. I really have to do this. I have to tell my story. And that was in 1987. I went through 7 years of very intense recovery in this, seeking my truth, seeking parts of myself that I had to push away, that I had to block so that I didn't feel the trauma that was behind the closed door. Because when you open a door to trauma, you also open the door to the good stuff in you. And at that point, I had 3 miscarriages, and I adopted my son Jason at 45. And I thought, okay, there's going to come a point in my life where I'm going to have to sit down and do this. And Jason left home. He went to Alabama when he was 22. And I'm an older mom. And I thought, it's the empty nest syndrome. And I thought, I really need to fill this in some way that's important to me. And that's when I first really said, I'm going to write the book. And then a year or two later, I connected with you.
And there, so how much of the book had you written before you and I first had our close encounter?
Yeah, right. It's funny. I started drawing, and I was like initially going to write a survivor book for the child within. It was going to be like a child's story about me as a child and the fears and all the things that went on for me as a child. And I was starting there because I thought, I'm not capable of writing an adult book. There's no way. That was my thinking. But I started really kind of going in that direction. And then I met a woman, Lisa Cartelli. She wrote Heart of Fire. And you helped her write her book. And I was going to do a retreat for her organization, Angel Faces, with teenagers. And she showed me her book. And it was at that point that I said, okay, I got to contact the book shepherd. I got to contact Judith, because she told me about you. And she laughed and she said, if anyone's going to help you get it done, it's going to be her. So I thought, okay. And I called you, and you were very responsive. And I sent you, I think at that point, I wrote some things about, now I didn't write a whole lot, but I did write about my journey and recovery and hitting my bottom in drug recovery, and then in opening up sexual abuse after years of amnesia and disassociation. So I did write to some degree, but I sent it to you, and you were so appreciative of me wanting to tell my story. And I don't know, you made me feel like I could do it, Judith.
Oh, thank you.
Even though I felt like I couldn't, you made me feel like I could.
Well, thank you. But here's what I want to say to everyone listening in, that when you're reaching out to work with people to help you, and I don't care if we're talking about covers or interiors or social media or marketing, in Lori's case, we had a lot on our plate, but I got her book and I got Lori. And I think it's really important that you have that connection, that you're not going to be stuck in a boilerplate, that it's a kind of a canned template, and you go through all this because of the uniqueness, especially with individuals who go through these unbelievable traumas in life. It's really essential that they're on the same train with you. So I'm just going to make sure that, and if you're, those of you who might be business book writers, you got to make sure that they understand business. That they do that. That's why so many of the books I work with deal with business related. I come from a business background. I get that in that world. So it's just really important that you do that in part of your scrutiny as you begin your author's journey. And with that, Lori, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to come back. So we know about Lori's beginning, but there's so much more in the process, because I bet you Lori had all kinds of fears and excuses before she made that phone call. This is AuthorU, your guide to book publishing. I'm Judith Briles. I'm the Book Shepherd, and we'll be right back.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
As Lori and I were chatting off air, as I always do with all my guests, on a project that I've been working on, and it really ties into what you all are doing yourself, and certainly what Lori did, and it's the setup. And Lori already revealed that, you know, the bubbling of her book idea happened when she was in a hospital, and starting to come out of what she had gone through. So there is always a bubbling that happens. I rarely see someone one day say, by golly, I'm going to write a book, and the next day they are writing it and it's done in a nanosecond. It just doesn't happen that way. There's stuff that has to go in play. And I was sharing her reveal of something that I had been working on for not a month. A lot of you know that I write fast. My last book, When God Says No, Revealing the Yes, when adversity and loss are present, I wrote the first draft in 6 days, but there was structure that had to go in behind it before I could sit down and do the blast out. For Lori, hers was seated in the hospital. And one of the things that I'm working on right now that is just the big launch is happening in September here in Colorado is the Colorado Authors Hall of Fame. And it was back in, 2010, I started thinking, there needs to be a celebration of authors and their words. That's what we need to do, the celebration of authors and their words. And that, and I wanted to celebrate authors that were living as also authors that were past. Well, okay, so I had the idea, and it just kind of settled in. I could think about it. And then I started to talk about it. And that's when the action starts. You can think about it. I know all of you carry stuff around in your head. You got to think about it, of course. But then you've got to start talking about it, because then your intention starts going out. I'm going to do this. So my intention started that I went ahead and pulled down domains. Okay, so I'm getting my toe in the water. I own 6 domains to the Colorado Authors Hall of Fame, .org, but I also have .com, and then I have abbreviations and that kind of thing. But I own them. But there was a key thing that had to be done, and this is where I had my mental block, is I had to go through the legal paperwork of creating a nonprofit. And we're talking about the 501c3 profit. All right, that took me a couple of years to get off my tush and put that together. All right, then it all started coming together, and then I started raising little bits and dibs of money that I could start supporting it. But it wasn't until literally Last year, I said, this is happening. We're going to make this happen. And I had enough monies donated in that I could hire someone to create the website. Now the visual intention went out. This is coming. And then all the unbelievable amount of paperwork that I had to do to create the content for the website. And then the call for nominations had to go out. Right now it's all come together. Now we're really into the fast and furious things that's going on, is that we're ordering all the awards, all the nomination committee met, all the inductees have been in play, have been identified. They have now been notified. They're so excited, and that it's now the big planning for the party is coming together. And the good news is we're only doing this party every other year. But it took several years, and I just don't want any of you to beat yourself up that it's taking you so long to get the book done or the book in hand, because it could take several years. So I just want to, let you off the hook a little bit, but you need to move on and start getting your infrastructure. Mine was the intentionality, getting the legal work done, getting the IRS related work done and approved, getting attorneys on my team, building the board, start building the advisory board, etc., until we can formally go out and now do the launch. So the book is the same way. Would you say, Lori, same way?
Absolutely. That's exactly what my process has been, Judith, only on it in a different area and for a different reason. But you said something that is absolutely essential. You take it out of your thinking and then you make an intention. You have to know that it's when I started to say to people, I'm going to write a book in 1987. I told recovering people, I'm going to do this at some point. And so there really is a some point. It might be years later, but the taking it out of your head and doing that action and telling and then making a commitment to see why you're holding yourself back, because that I was holding myself back. I was afraid to do this. But my process is very much what you're describing, building an infrastructure, not knowing what to put in an infrastructure. Forget about writing a book, but how do I do media? How do I do a website? I didn't have any of that because I was always word of mouth referral. Mm-hmm. So opening up social media is a whole other area. It's exciting. It's scary. It's exhilarating at times. It's frustrating. I've been through a range of feelings, but I have to tell you, I love it. I love putting this together.
Right, and kudos to Lori, because when I work with people, I tell them we need to do this. We have this laundry list, and a website's always, if you have one, we need to get some morphing done. Lori had nothing. She just revealed she had nothing. So that was the good news, so we could develop it. We could see what models we had out there, and we found perfect models, and we were able to build it from there, and move on to it, which was very exciting. But what Lori, to her credit, she was open to do was parallel. That as we were writing, because we were writing each chapter from scratch, as we were writing together, Lori was also knew that she had to get this structure started. Most authors don't go it that way. If they need to deal with the website or think about marketing, Lori was thinking, I'm going to have to market this baby, and she needed the website as a basis to come off of. And so she was open for me to do the push. I'm telling you, I can't tell you, the common thing is I get a lot of resistance. I just need focus. I just need to be writing. And you can't be so focused and myopic that you don't realize that the writing, although it seems overwhelming and humongous, is only 10% of what you're going to be doing. It's all this other stuff that has to come in to support your baby. All right, so I'll move off my bandwagon.
No, but you're bringing up a really excellent point. It's not just about writing the book. It's about how you're going to, it's the creation and giving birth to it and putting it out into the world. There's a whole process for that.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say that Lori's book is beautiful. I'm so proud that I've been on her team. And, My House of Lies, the cover is beautiful. The back cover reads great. The interior looks amazing. And it's almost like reading a movie script in some areas. So I'm going to encourage all of you, if you want to see a well-structured book, especially someone who has done a memoir, order. Don't do the ebook. And, the ebook's there, but don't worry about that. What you want to see is the visual print book, My House of Lies. The author is Lori Golden. So, Lori, we've got about 2 minutes before this next break, and I want to get into some of your fears and excuses. But what were some of the surprises you found as you were building your infrastructure?
One surprise that was very interesting was fear, because I felt not just fear about is it going to be built, but fear about being so visible out in the world, because I've never been in that way. Mm-hmm. And I really wrote about it because I said, what am I afraid of? And it was, again, what ended up happening is, Lori, you're telling your secret to the world. You're really, even though I had been telling people for years, this felt different because I didn't have any control of what was going to happen once it was out in the stratosphere. It was like, it was a strange feeling. Mm-hmm. It was scary. But
it's so essential, Lori. Yeah, it's essential that you bring this up to everyone, because one of the things that all authors need to realize is there's a vulnerability factor here. Yes, and I don't care Lori went deep down personal in hers. But also, when I came out with my book, When God Says No, I had people say, do you really want to reveal all this? Do you really want to let people know? And I said, I'm 70 years old. It's irrelevant what I reveal now. So, that was my thought. But the vulnerability, you're going to be vulnerable. You're exposed. People actually will attack you. And usually those who attack, they're envious because you did it and they didn't. And I'm going to hold it there. We're going to go into our next little break here. When we come back, I want Lori to get into some of the really fears and excuses of writing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Oh, we're halfway through with Lori Golden and her wonderful book, My House of Lies. And this has been a fabulous month celebrating authors and really their quests, their journeys, their hiccups, their joys in what they've been doing. And one of the things I told Lori as we were just going to the break is that I wanted to really have her kiss on some of the initial fears and excuses that, and maybe some of her negative beliefs that she carried with her that blocked her before she could finally get going.
Yeah. The one most important one for me is the negative cognition is I am stupid, I'm not smart enough. Ooh. And even though that is not true about me, and I had all this evidence to show me whatever I really put a focus on, I'll go all out to make it happen. I'll learn what I have to learn. But I really carried that belief about because I was in the slowest reading group in second grade. And all throughout elementary school, I was always in the slowest reading group. And I had a lot of shame about that because my friends were always in the best reading groups. And I couldn't concentrate because I would have symptoms of my father's sexual abuse. So how can you have something happen at night and then go to school and learn and actually focus? But I didn't understand that. And so the deepest part of me was I'm not smart enough. I must be stupid because everybody else is reading well and I'm not. So when I got my master's degree, and obviously I read for that, but outside of that, I did not read. I felt like I read too slow. I would pick up a book and my concentration would go. And I thought, and as a result, writing was very difficult for me because I had to censor everything I put down. So I'd write a sentence and then I cross it out. That's not good enough. Then I'd write another sentence, of course. This is just general writing. So that was a really big issue for me when I got into recovery. And I shared a lot about it. I want to write a book, but I don't read. How could that happen? It was such a mixed belief for me. But people carry around these beliefs. I'm worthless. I'm not good enough. I'm not in control. I am weak. These negative beliefs really do build in us from childhood. That's where they begin. And that often becomes this one thing that stopped me and stops other people from going forward is this, you're having a negative belief that you're holding on to. And if you don't know what that is, it's hard to know what's stopping you. Because I kept asking myself, what is getting in the way here? And that's the first thing that came up before I called you, Judith, was I'm not smart enough. And I said, okay, it's time to put that one to rest. And doing this action, I have put that to rest. It's not that I carried it with me all the time, but for something like writing a book, this came up for me. And this is something that got in the way. And I really always say to people, you've got to acknowledge what the beliefs are that are holding you back. Because those beliefs are, once you take them out and look at them, and really realize how young you were when you first started developing them, you can then change it. You can take them, you can help that little kid inside you move into the adult thinking. And it was a process, but it's been great. I mean, that's the biggest thing that held me back is I'm not smart enough. I'm stupid.
No. And you are smart enough, and you are definitely not stupid. And by the way, just the way you articulated that and let it flow through what going through, I heard the therapist in you coming out. but also explaining how we all block ourselves. We all play these silly games sometimes, and they are silly, but they can be just crushing and holding you back from achieving unbelievable potential when opportunity doors open. So I think I want to say to all of you, your book is an opportunity door that's ready to be blasted open. This is what it's doing for Lori Golden in her book, My House of Lies, right now, as you move on with that. So
Yes.
in the things that when you finally said, okay, I am smart enough, I am good enough, and I am going to do this type of thing.
Well,
all right.
Well, that's what honestly, Judith,
Yep.
that's what you really helped me with.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I really feel that if I always love reaching out to wise teachers, and when I connected with you, I thought, this is the lady that's going to help me move through and get to a different place in myself. And you did, not just as a coach and not just as a helper in writing, and it's everything that you do is so intricate and beautiful and complex, but you make stuff happen. And you're just a great mentor. You're somebody that I just really look to for. It was just you building my talks with you, really, that ended up mentoring, but my talks with you really were the inspiration for me.
Oh, well,
I believe
I believe you. Oh, yeah, no, I did believe it. I mean, I understood your story. I've been there before with this story, but I did understood it. And it was time to do a new one needed to come along. I mean, I was close to Marilyn Vanderburg and was her mentor for her book, Miss America by Day. And I knew that Marilyn was retiring and we needed a new voice in. So there you go.
Yep.
We needed,
and I love it,
a new voice that came along, and you were the newest one at the time that I saw that really had a solid story that could go in and had the therapy background, actually, that could come on and help so many of them. All right, so for some of the things, let me just transition now. So you did the commitment, all right? I helped you with the structure. It was and the follow through was the back and forth and all that. And you did all the homework assignments, so you get an A+. What did you do for your own personal accountability to keep you on track that I wasn't involved in?
I wrote down every day some goals, and I got that from NeuroGym. It's a brain focused kind of approach to working, making goals happen. And I just wrote the goal of I'm going to tell my story, and I wrote that every day. Just that one, I'm finding the time to tell my story. And I really did it a day at a time. And when I meditated, I always put that out into the world, my goal of wanting to speak and my goal of wanting to educate people. And that commitment to myself was, I knew I would make it happen. But I really did make a daily commitment. And, it really, it's not just the commitment to another person. It was the commitment to myself that I deserved to do this, that it's time in my life to take this action. So, and I would reach out to friends and people that love me and support me. My sister in particular, my friend Jamie, my friend Madeline, who I did a lot of abuse recovery with. And Madeline always brings me back to my strength, because Madeline and I started the journey of our incest recovery together. And when I connect with Madeline, it brings me back to, this is possible. Anything that you want to do, Lori, is possible. You did that, and look what, that. So I would kind of remind myself of accomplishments that I made in my life. And I know one thing that helped me is I wrote about my tenacity, and I wrote all the things I did in my life that I really did and accomplished. And one of the big things was the New York City Marathon in 1982. And I finished it in the top, in a high percentage. I did really well. And that frame is in my office because when I look at that, I remember thinking, if I can do this, I can do the next thing. And so I kind of just mapped out all the things that I accomplished in my life from my younger years all the way up. And it really helped me because it made me connect, and I read it every day. It made me connect to, you have it in you. You've done it before. You can do this now. Whatever it's going to take, you'll get the help you need, and you're going to do it. So I just kept reassuring myself I'm going to get the help I need. Does that make sense? There was a lot that I did.
No, there is a huge help, but I think that it's always good to have accountability partners that kind of will cheer for you, help lift you up a little bit, kind of, commiserate sometimes, but they also know the vision is, I want to get this done. And sometimes, when I have people come to me and they're really bummed and they're out and they want to grumble, and I will say, because I'm kind of a fix-it person, I want to get them going. And I said, sometimes I just have to say, do you just want me to listen? Do you just need to grumble out and we'll all go on again. And sometimes that is what you have to do. All right, we're coming up to our final break, everyone. Here's what I want Lori to kind of share, because one of the things that I referred to it earlier, some of the trauma stuff that popped up, some of the stuff that really popped up as we were writing, and it slowed her down a little bit. So let's kiss on that. And then what are some of the aspects from this whole process from beginning to end was just really the oh my God, this is so overwhelming. Am I ever going to get through this? And what tips that you shared that you're going through. And then we always want to know, Lori, okay, so you got the book in hand. What's going to be next? You're all listening to AuthorU, your guide to book publishing. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All righty. So Lori Golden is with us. Again, she is the author of the unbelievable, totally readable My House of Lies, which deals with the sexual abuse and trauma at the hands of her father when she started at the age of 5 years of age. And what I wanted to do before we come back from this is to really talk about, because we're talking about writing, and especially for those of you doing memoirs, because a lot of memoirs, are not a lot of fun. They're tough. Or a lot of you may be writing stories revealing other people's stories, and there's some really tough stuff in it. And Lori's is a great model to look at it. How do you do the reveal? How do you make it so you can chew on it a little bit without being, oh my God, I can't read another word type thing. So what I wanted her to do is that I know that we went through a tough time dealing with some of the benign neglect is the phrase I often use, dealing with the partner of the abuser. All right. And that would be her mother. That would have been her mother. So she had some of the effects, and we ran into some challenges as we were dealing with the mom chapters in it. And then what I wanted to also is just talk about some of the overwhelm, because, writing's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
Yes. It is overwhelming. And I confronted my mother years ago. And then I didn't see it really. I backed away from her for 16 years. And then she came back into my life when Jason was 9. And I made a decision. I do not want to talk about the past. I only want to connect with you now. I don't want to talk. I don't need any validation from you. Let's just see what we can be together now going forward. So writing this book, I realized, well, she's still alive, and which is good. But I kept thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I going to write about all that I want to say and her still be living and in my life in this way? And it was scary. And I went over there and I sat down with her and her husband, and I said, I'm writing a book about incest, and it's going to be a very personal memoir about growing up in our family. And whatever I want to write about, I'm going to write about, regardless of whether it's good or not good or positive or negative. I'm just going to lay it out the way I really have lived it and experienced it, because I know that if I do that, I can help other people. And, she just was, she wasn't like, oh my God, don't do that. But my mother has never really fully ever stepped into recovery for this. And I know she has an ability, like most of the people that have grown, had children growing up with this, the ability to disassociate from the reality of what's going on. Because, I just knew I said, I'm not doing this to hurt you, and I'm not doing this to get back at anyone. And then I was helping her. She had some physical issues, and I was going over there twice a week, and suddenly the anger in me that I hadn't felt in a long time, and I'm not talking many, many years, came up in me. Now, I didn't want to hurt myself, which is what I would go to in my younger years, but the anger brought up, I can't see her right now. I can't be involved with her right now, because the reality of what I was writing about and the pain of that and her denial and neglect of that pain, it was in my face in a way that it hadn't been in years. So all I know is I just kept talking about it. I shared it with you, Judith. I shared it with, people, my sister a lot, and my sister's husband, and I kept saying, I have to do this for myself. I cannot back off. I spent enough time hurting myself in my earlier years, and I'm going to move forward with this, regardless of the effect it has on my mother. My father's dead. He's been dead since 1993, and I hadn't seen him for years either. But that was a difficult process. And I'm proud of myself because I didn't give up. I didn't let it hold me back. I said to myself, you have spent years seeking your own truth, and you are going to say the truth, and regardless of who feels what about it. And I made that commitment, and then I said to my mother, you've chosen to live in denial. I'm not angry at you anymore for it, but anger is coming up in me. And when I'm with you, and I need to back off right now, and I kind of helped someone come in and take care of her a little bit, but I knew I needed to back off. So taking care of myself was really a big part of it too.
And that's really wise. Yeah, that's wise advice, I think.
Yeah, you do need to.
Yeah, wise advice. All right, so let's talk about the overwhelm.
Yeah.
All right, and when we have a few minutes left, but let's talk about the overwhelm, because writing is overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and it's also overwhelming to create a website, even using the computer. You were just editing some of my stuff, and I went, Judith, I don't know how to do this. It was just simple editing. I mean, I feel like I was lived in the horse and buggy era when I started doing this computer. Yeah. And then social media, and then now printing the book and making a decision about it. It's very overwhelming. But if you pick the right people to bring into your overwhelm, it's just like Michelle did my website, and I told her I don't know anything about doing a website, and she just reassured me, it's okay, we'll make it happen. And Kelly helped me with the computer, and I said, I don't know how to do half of this stuff. And she said, don't worry, we'll work on this. So I feel like my strength, Judith, is in reaching out to people that are wise and can help me do what I need to do.
Yep, and I think everyone needs to listen to that. If you're trying to do the DIY stuff, which is it's my experience is that's where people get in trouble. And they think you can do it all. And I had a conversation just the other day with a very skilled graphic artist who is now working on his first book, and he's going to do it all. He's going to lay it out. He's going to do it all. And I said, you are making a mistake. Books are different, and I don't care. You can supply art and all that, but book covers are different. back covers are different. Interior design is different. But he was, heck bent on really doing everything himself. And I don't even want to go down to the path of what I'm going to see with probably, I won't see it because I'm not going to be working with him. But he was calling to try to get advice on, ISBNs and LCCNs, because he's going to do everything himself. And this is where you start setting yourself up for failure, I think, when you go into that path. And I'm, and that means you're going to be spending some money. I'll just tell you all, we're not going to get into what kind of money, but you will be spending some money in that. So it's getting help. I think the wise author gets some help. And there are some things, yes, you can do yourself, but when you don't know, do the ask instead of trying to fumble around in that process. All right. So Lori, we've got 2 minutes left. I want to know what's next for you.
What's next is my social media infrastructure is happening right now. I've been writing blogs. I'm so proud of myself. And there's an emoji that's like green throw up coming out of your mouth. I said, I just wrote my first blog and I sent the emoji to my sister. And it's funny. Anyway, but I really am enjoying taking my art, Judith, that you suggested I do, and writing about how that came about and why that particular painting that I did and why I did it, because I also do art. And I'm just incorporating. It's so exciting to take all of this about me and kind of live in it, really live in it. My artistic side, my creative side, my, thinking side. And I really am very excited about going out into the world and educating people and really helping people understand what children go through. Because when we talk about the word childhood sexual abuse or incest, it is such a painful, harmful thing for children. And it's really, it goes on a lot more than it's people, communities are really, especially upper class and, more income oriented communities are still very much in denial about it. So I feel like that's a goal of mine.
Well, I think it's a very worthy goal, Lori. So everyone, as we wrap up our fabulous month of celebrating authors along the way, I'm going to encourage you, each one of these broadcasts I've had with Charles Brakefield and Rox Berkey and Steve Snyder and Lynn Hellerstein, they really all had gems in them. This has had some wonderful gems. Listen to it again. We'll be back with you next month. Happy writing, happy publishing.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take you, the author, to the next level. You'll learn tips and secrets on how to create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve book publishing success by making one very simple change in your book's journey. How to avoid the publishing predators. How to create an author and book platform that rocks. Learn how to make a living with your words and your books. Learn how to publish a book that has no regrets, and so much more. For more information, check out AuthorU.org, where authors who want to be seriously successful go. And Judith's website, thebookshepherd.com. Then join us again here next week for more. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Rockstar Radio Network.